Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Side of Sports podcast, where we highlight all the good being done by athletes and organizations. I'm your host, Brian Hartong, and today we're at a place where anyone who's played the game of football has dreamt of ending their career at, and that's Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And today I'm joined by Adrian Allison, Chief Relationship Officer
Yep.
of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
A mouthful. Yeah, good job. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I guess before we get going, I always like to find out a little bit about you and your role here at the Hall of Fame.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
I am uh appreciated you asking to join, but more importantly, I appreciate what you do and the goal that you have for your podcast. You know, spreading good news, salt and light. There's a lot of podcasts out there with a lot of different things to say. So I appreciate what you're doing
Thank you
in terms of
very
your
much.
podcast.
Thank you.
In terms of my role here, I've had the privilege of working here. Now I'm into year 7, so it'll be uh, I'm gonna get into the year 7. I have had a couple of different roles here. I call myself the chief of stuff. I've done everything from legal work to HR. Now I oversee our Hall of Famer relations department. I help with our Black College Football Hall of Fame relationship. Get the chance to privilege to oversee Super Bowl activities, enshrinement activities. So I do a lot of different things, but I'm also born and raised here,
Okay.
and so I was um, went to high school right behind this building, and so it's a privilege to be back home, a privilege to be back in the community, and to work at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm from Stark County as well, my whole life, 45 years, and this place always had a special place in my heart for sure, and especially these weeks right here, because
sure.
this is where things are starting to heat up for you
Yeah,
for sure.
yep.
I can't imagine all the activities you have going on. So I thank you for taking the time out to get with us.
Yeah, we're excited. Yeah. Well, you know what? It's what, and you know it because you've been here. This community comes together during enshrinement week, and everyone steps up, and there are hundreds of volunteers that come in and support this event, make the Hall of Famers and the new class feel welcome. The businesses step up. Everybody steps up to make Canton, shine on the national stage, and it's pretty cool, and it's coming.
How many average on average past Hall of Famers come for this weekend or the weekend coming up?
Yeah, so right now we are, knock on wood, we are hoping to break a record of over 110.
Wow.
And the context for that is really important because there are 185 that are alive.
Okay.
So if we get about 100, somewhere between 105 and 110, it's pretty impressive. But and we could talk about this a little later on, but that doesn't come by accident. There's very intentionality in that, where the Hall of Famers have come to recognize that this is a second home for them, that the people of Canton really, really care about them and want to celebrate them, and so they embrace coming back, and so because they feel a connection with this place.
Okay. I know the Hall is definitely represents greatness on the field. How do you judge greatness off the field?
Well, I mean, I think that's a hard question, because the word greatness, right, in and of itself, how do you define
Sure.
greatness, right? And
Right.
and even, there will be 387 guys that are enshrined in this
Okay.
hall, right? Um, so the theory is they are the greatest of the game, and yet there are debates every year
Sure. For sure.
about who could and who should and who hasn't and that's the beauty of it. And so I think at the end of the day, greatness, whether it's on the field and off the field, there's a standard, right? There's a standard of excellence. And sometimes that standard of excellence shows up for the world to see, and sometimes it's with your family, right?
Okay.
In your own house, in your own community, right? And so, being a great Hall of Famer off the field doesn't necessarily mean that you have a foundation or you're um doing community service. It could be that you're just being a really great husband, a really great dad, a really great uncle, and making your spirit of world a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's like you said, the definition of greatness can be a million different things.
yeah, yeah, and we pay attention, and rightfully so. There are people, and I have a ton of examples, and we can talk about there are Hall of Famers who are really doing foundation work and giving back and all of that, and they are great as well. But the ones who are just being upstanding citizens and using their platform in whatever manner to make a difference in the world, they're great too.
That leads me to my next question. Who do you comes to mind when you think about doing the most as far as like community service or foundation work and stuff like that? Do you have anyone that comes to mind?
Yeah, you trying to get me fired, man. Because or maybe a bunch of people. Yeah, so my job is a relationship with all these guys, right? So I start dropping names, we got a problem. But so let me answer it this way. So there are 87
Okay.
guys that we know of, and there's probably more, but we know for a fact that 87 of our Hall of Famers have some type of 501c3 or foundation.
Okay.
That is a significant number of people
Mhm.
guys who have said, I'm going to put in ink that I'm going to have a foundation to do something good
Right.
for either their local or broader community. Can I give you examples? Yes, I'll give you some examples. You take somebody like Anthony Munoz down in Cincinnati, has a great foundation that's helped over 60,000 kids
Okay.
uh, uh, with their physical, mental, and emotional health, giving scholarships for college. Somebody like Mike Singletary. Mike Singletary does prison ministries, and he
Oh,
goes into
okay.
prisons and encourages prisoners that they're going to be okay,
Mhm.
despite the fact that they've had some challenges. Mel Blount started a youth home, and a full fledged that at before COVID it was a overnight youth home where he had young boys come in and and Mel's a cowboy,
Okay.
and so they used the horses to help with the kids sort of
Like assist animals or
yeah, like yeah, some to help the horse therapy and all
Mhm.
of that stuff. So and they still are active, engaged. They just don't do it overnight, but they're still very much involved in the community. I was here. Donnie Shell was here one time, and he said, "You know what? I believe in. I grew up where food shortages was a problem,
Mhm.
and so he said, Adrian, I'm going to write a check to your local organization that helps provide food."
Okay.
Um, Charles Haley has a reading program. And every year he has a big golf tournament, and all the proceeds go back to the reading program that he does. Adam Vinatieri does clay sport shooting, and it all goes to charity.
Okay.
Adam's coming in this year. I mean, they're all. It's just endless
Yeah.
of guys who who take their platform and take their means and say, how can I make a difference in the world? And we get the privilege here at the Hall of Fame to help elevate that for them and put it out in the world for other people to know about.
That's sort of the premise behind my show is to bring that to light
Yes,
because there's so many things being done out there that no one knows about.
that's correct.
So
Yeah,
that's my mission is to get it out there so to help if organizations needs help to put them in the forefront so they can get assistance. So
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
gives me a lot of information to pass on and stuff like that too. So I know behind us we have the Walter Payton Man of the Year, which goes hand in hand with everything we're
sure.
talking about. Do you guys have any involvement with that at all?
So well, first of all, there's a wall behind us that has all of the Walter Payton Men of the Year on it.
Okay.
And from the time the award started, I think back in the 60s, and there are 30 Hall of Famers
Mm, okay.
that are on that wall.
Mm,
And so that tells you in and of itself that, you know, Hall of Famers, a lot of Hall of Famers use their platform not just to be great football players, but also to receive an award such as, eh, that award. I don't know if you pay attention or not, but the NFL honors you
Okay.
every year. There used to be a time where the league MVP was the highlight award.
Mm,
That is now the highlight,
nice.
the Man of the Year award.
Nice.
And so to have 30 guys get that award is pretty incredible, and we're excited. And there'll probably be some guys on that list who aren't Hall of Famers yet,
Okay.
that eventually we'll be highlighting because they got it in recent years. But it is a that's an NFL award. But what our goal is to highlight that um, Hall of Famers and others are doing great things in the community.
So as far as the community goes here, does the Hall of Fame interact with any like the schools or any initiatives that they have for the city of Canton, anything like that?
Well, yes, and I chuckle a little bit because we have a whole department
Oh, okay.
here that's called Youth and Education, and their whole mission is to take the um, the values that the Hall of Fame stands for, and then share that with youth around, not just in Stark County, but around the country. So
Okay.
we have programs such as Heart of a Hall of Famer, and that we do that both virtually and in person, where we get a Hall of Famer and they come and talk to the kids about character and integrity and respect and honor. We have there are times where there's so many kids in this hall, it's almost overwhelming. But we want them to come in and you know, see the Game for Life Theater, see um where the sports heroes are also doing great things. There's that in front of us, there's this character sign. Um, and in the room that we're in, it was we decided as a hall that not for money, not for anything else, but we wanted to highlight character. And we wanted to have an exhibit that highlighted the great character, not just of Hall of Famers, but of football players who have shown extraordinary character. And so this whole room was a character exhibit. We made pins that had the C on it for character. We highlighted guys who have Pat Tillman.
Mm, yeah.
Pat Tillman is obviously,
Story.
yeah,
Yeah.
his story. Where you are a starting NFL safety, and the world changes, and you say, I'm going to give that up and I'm going to go fight for my country, right?
Yeah.
We want to highlight people like that, but Joe Delaney and Emlyn Tennille, others who have really done great things, and so we bring in the youth to talk about that, and to share these stories with them, and we're really excited um, to be able to use our platform to share the values of the game.
So where do you see it? Does the hall have a direction that you're excited that they're taking? I know back behind us, there's all these fields back here.
Mm.
Is flag football something that's coming into the forefront?
It has. As a matter of fact, this time last year, if you would have been here this time last year, this whole place would be crawling with flag football. We had a national flag football tournaments here for the last 2 years. They've moved, but one of the things that we did last year was help uh, Ohio establish flag football as a sport,
Okay.
a sanctioned varsity sport. We got the girls in particular to make sure that they knew that they could have a varsity sport here in Ohio in flag
So
football.
that's a varsity sport in Ohio.
It is,
Oh wow.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
and so the hall, you know, I'm almost a little embarrassed to say it because our president would not want credit for it,
Mhm.
and yet the fact of the matter is he worked with the Browns and he worked with the Bengals and he worked with the Ohio High School Athletic Association to say let's bring in flag football as as a sport in Ohio,
Yeah.
and so it is now. And as a matter of fact, um, my high school, the great Canton McKinley High School. I know your wife's over there from Maslin, but I'll just keep it back to the subject matter. The great Canton McKinley High School, their girls flag football team did very very well in the national tournament. They didn't win it, but they not the national, in the state tournament. They were, I think, in the top four. So we're just excited to do our small part, right? Because it's not about the Hall of Fame, but what we do and always try to do is use our platform to uplift something that's good, right? And flag football is good.
Yeah, I've seen videos of the girls play, and they can play.
Well, it's interesting you say that because not only can the girls play, but I don't know if you watch the uh, flag football versus the pros.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm watching those flag football players, and them pros couldn't do anything with them. And what it's showing you is a different game, right? There's a different skill set. You don't want those pro players hitting you,
Mhm.
but in terms of flag football, there's a skill, there's an art, there's a strategy, and it was pretty cool to
Right.
watch Tom Brady get beat up by by some guys from off the street who
Right.
are really experts at flag football.
So you do a lot with retired players and and Hall of Famers that have been out of the game for quite a while?
Yeah, so I mentioned there are 185 living Hall of Famers, and then there are a grand total of 387. So let me pause there and just explain the magnitude of that. So there are, I don't know, 30,000 people who play pro football
Mhm.
in the 100 years that it exists.
So 1%.
1%
Yeah.
of the players who ever played the game have a bust in the room behind us.
Hmm.
So it is a fairly big deal. And it's a very exclusive club. And so I get the privilege of of those 387 um and then the 185 living is my team is the team that interacts with them.
Okay.
So if they have passed away, we interact with their family members, widow, a son or a daughter, and let them know that they're still part of the Hall of Fame family. And then for the ones that are alive, we reach out. What do they need? Is there anything that we can help them with? Whether it's some of their charity things, or they just need um, our assistance with healthcare benefits or whatever it is. That's what my team does here on a daily basis. And so, but even smaller than that is we just reach out just to say hi,
Mhm.
just to say, especially for some of the guys who played a while ago.
Right.
Right? And there are guys who, the world keeps moving and people forget or people don't remember how great he was. And so we remind them, hey, we still are protecting your legacy here.
Right.
We're still telling your story here, even though, there's new guys that have come along. So we're really, really, really honored to be able to do that, just to be transparent.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying the guys from way back that are still around, they didn't have the multi-million-dollar contract
That is correct.
like that,
That's correct.
so they any kind of help would probably is very
Well, not on all of that front, right? I mean, yes, and they, yeah, the game changed, but here's the facts. The facts is that those guys built it,
Mhm.
right? So the guys aren't getting paid what they're getting paid now, but for the guys who 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 back in the day used to work two jobs,
Right.
so they did football during football season, and then they got a job in the off season. Well, now football is the only job,
Right.
but back then that was the way it was. And so, to be able to share with them and hear their stories and preserve their legacies, um, as football has become, you know, America's sport, right? And the NFL is trying to make it the world sport because how many international games do we have now? That's very intentional, right? And we just got finished with the did we finish with the World Cup? Almost finished with the World
Almost
Cup. Yeah.
2 games ago.
Yeah. And so, but football is a passion. But we want to make sure that these Hall of Famers, that they know that their legacy will live forever.
So when did the current class, when do they show up?
Well, they will be here August. It's like August the 5th and the 6th.
Okay.
So they came here in March. We had um, there's a new class exhibit downstairs.
Okay.
They helped open that,
Okay.
and they all the exhibits. down there, or they curate it, so it's their exhibit.
Hmm.
They provided the stuff for it,
Oh,
and
okay.
then they help open it up, and then we had a dinner in their honor in March, and then they will be here in August, first week in August, and away they go. And I can tell you this, they'll be they'll be so happy when it's done because it's like a wedding.
Okay.
So if you think about planning a wedding or a major party, that whole week is just a lot.
Mhm.
It's a lot of stuff because you are the guest of honor.
Right.
So most of them say, I love that. And I can't wait till next year where I'm not the guest of honor, but now I could sit back and just enjoy
Right.
being a Hall of Famer. But until that time, but we've got a great class. And you want to talk about character and honor and integrity. Um, Larry Fitzgerald,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that young man, he is exemplifies character. Drew Brees exemplifies character. Luke Kuechly, who most people call Clark Kent that turned into Superman, is one of the nicest, politest, caring young men I've ever met.
Okay.
And that is not an exaggeration. And then right, you have Roger Craig, the great Roger Craig, who is just ecstatic to be in the hall, and then Adam, who I mentioned, has a charity where he has an event, and it just all the money goes to charity. So we've got a really great class of guys who exemplify that character.
Throughout the year, I know these 3 weeks coming up are crazy. What kind of events do you guys have outside of this enshrinement period?
Yeah. So one of the things that goes in line with what you're talking about is we have a new program that's been around. Well, it's not new anymore. This is our third year. It's called the residency program.
Okay.
And so what we do, we've had over 80 Hall of Famers come to Canton. They spend 3 days in Canton, and all they do while they're here is go out in the community,
Hmm.
and we ask them what are they passionate about. And then if they say, well, I love first responders, or I love interacting with senior citizens, or I want to work with kids, or I want to go to a hospital, and then we take them out in the community and they go and visit with those things that they have a passion about.
Okay.
Um, they speak to kids. They matter of fact, they for a full year every week they spoke to McKinley's football team.
Hmm.
But we've set it up where every Stark County school has had a chance to hear from a Hall of Famer. Um, they'll go up to Children's Hospital and interact with the kids there. Go to a senior home, do that. Go to a boys club and do. I mean, and it's significant because that's what they want to do,
Right.
and what they want to do is acknowledge that yes, I live somewhere else, but this is my second home, and I want to invest in my second home like I do in my first home. And so the residency program has been just a phenomenal program for us here at the Hall of Fame and for the Stark County community. So really, really excited
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
It does seem like there's a consistent theme where they are great on the field, but then they don't forget, like, they give back. That's what I like the most about this whole thing is just the way they give back, and it's not always the same way, like you said. Some people like first responders or
Hmm.
children in hospitals and stuff like that, and everyone has a passion that they love and get behind and stuff like that. And that's what I love about this whole thing. We were talking a little bit about education and stuff like that. What message is there a message that the hall likes to get out into the community or what they stand for or anything like that?
Yeah, well, so I think there's a couple layers to that. One is that the hall, and I want to say this the right way. The hall is when I go somewhere and I got my hall stuff on, anywhere in this country, right? People will see my Hall of Fame logo and know instantly, right?
Right.
That's Canton, that's Stark County, that's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What we want to do as a hall is be great partners to the community that we represent. And so over the last 5 years, we've given and I'm not exaggerating, millions of dollars back to the community to support events and charities and other things that are community. That's just the hall. And by the way, we're a 501c3 as well. So we're a charity ourselves, but we believe that it's so important that with all the pride that this community has about being the home of the hall, that we also support our community and give back to them. So we do that pretty consistently.
Okay.
I think the other thing for us is that we want to embed when people come here that they see, and if you walk around this building, you'll see specific intentional um, um, pointing towards the values of football, right? So we want people to see that it's about commitment, it's about courage, it's about integrity, honor, respect. Those things are embedded into what the hall stands for, and we want people to walk away and go, huh, great football players, but they're also delivering a message that's bigger than that. And that's what our goal is.
Right. So when we got here earlier, we went down through downtown,
Mm,
and it's a big transformation since last time I was down here. You
sure.
have the Centennial.
Centennial Plaza.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a pretty cool thing. What were those plaques with all the names on it?
Yeah. So those plaques, so Centennial Plaza was a vision. First of all, it used to just be the Kresge lot, right?
Right.
Because there was a grocery store or department store named Kresge that used to live there, and it got tore down, and so we used it for activities. And then the question came, how can we build something for this community? And so the hall partnered with the community to do the Centennial Plaza, and the Centennial, of course, is related to the 100th year of the NFL. And so we were celebrating the 100th year of the NFL, and we wanted to make sure that Canton had a place in that celebration.
Okay.
And so Centennial Plaza was born out of the idea of you can't celebrate the 100 years of the NFL without celebrating its birthplace. And so the idea for Centennial Plaza was born. And so part of that was that every player who played in the NFL, played a game in the NFL over the first 100 years, would have their name
Okay.
in Centennial Plaza. And so all of those names down there are if you played in one regular season game in the NFL, your name is down at Centennial Plaza.
Okay.
And it's just another way to honor, the history of the game. And so Centennial Plaza has turned into a great a gathering place for our community. It's a pride point for our community, and the hall. I love the hall spheres that
Yeah.
are down there. And when you go down there, it reminds people again that the Pro Football Hall of Fame and Canton and Stark County, we are connected in a way that and by the way, you know, the hall is here in Canton because of the community. The community is what brought the hall here. Campaigns. We had a founders exhibit that was Stark County Proud is what we called it, but it was basically an exhibit that acknowledged the dollar donations that people in the community were giving. Literally, we put up every donation on a wall, and some were $1, some was $5, some were a lot, and we honored the Belden Company and the Timken Company and all those companies who came together to Canton Repository pushed to say if you're going to have a Hall of Fame, it belongs here, and that push ultimately was successful, and that's why we're here. So we're really really proud that we're in Stark County.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing that I got from this job and I get from this job is you get to see under the helmet, right? And so when I get a chance to talk to a Hall of Famer, which is often, and you talk to them not as I was yesterday. I don't. Not, this is not a name drop, but yesterday I was on a call with Warren Moon.
Okay.
Okay, to so I watched Warren Moon play
Mhm.
football.
Okay.
Warren Moon is the only African American quarterback in the Hall of Fame,
Okay.
right? Warren Moon is very dear and special to me. But now I'm chopping it up with Warren Moon,
Right.
and I'm talking to Warren Moon about his kids and his celebrating the things that he's doing in his life. That's the fun part of the job, because what you realize is that, yeah, he was out throwing the football all over the place and earned here. But Warren Moon's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a really cool dude, who cares about his family, cares about the community. That's who they are. And for us to have the opportunity and privilege to do that is pretty cool.
Yeah, your job is that's my dream job.
Yeah, I get that a lot, by the way. You're not the only one. Trust me. I want your job.
Right.
So
I'm trying. Hopefully, this job will get me. But you got it. Yeah, you got that job for
yeah.
sure.
Our mission Our mission is to honor the greatest of the game, right? Well, honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, promote its values, right? And celebrate excellence together. That is our mission. And so it's on the wall down there. So it's not either or. It's both and, right? It's not, we either honor the greatest of the game by only celebrating their stats, but it's both, honor the greatest of the game and promote its values. And that's embedded into what we do here at the hall every day. And we're we're privileged to have a platform that people will have the opportunity to see our mission play out, right? Because not everybody has a platform, but we do. And so when we go around the country and people see that logo, we want them to think two things: greatest of the game, great values.
There we go.
Great.
That's it.
Okay. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you. And that concludes our show. So tune in next time where I'll bring you another amazing foundation supporting a great cause. And remember, show your good side out there, everyone.